Still doing some work on the 2024 Denali Ultimate 3500, and as you can see, we have the Ranchos off the back of it. We do have a pair for the front also. The reason I decided to go ahead and do this is you can see, I see a little bit of evidence right here of the Rancho starting to leak, and just wanted to try these Bilstein 5100 series aren't really all that expensive, but I consider it a big upgrade over the factory Rancho shock. And kind of why I say that, this truck's got 9,000 miles, 9,300 I think to be exact, and we really shouldn't be seeing any of that, and these are kind of known to not really hold up that good. Not a very scientific test here or approach, but if we push this shock down, this Rancho, I can push it down pretty easy with one hand. And is it a gas charged shock? I think it is, because it does come up, but like painfully slow come up. We're going to set that down. You can see it slowly coming up. In the meantime, we're going to push this Bilstein shock down. Takes a little more effort. And once we're down, gas charged, and this will 100% beat that Rancho. And we did that a good, what? Yeah, it's already, it's top of the travel, and that Rancho is still slowly coming up. Now, is it valved to where it's going to come up slower? No, because I can pull it up much faster. It's just, it doesn't seem to have very much charge in it. Again, that's not a very scientific approach. So if we compare the two shocks here, the body of them is pretty much the same. The bushing in the Rancho is actually a little bit larger diameter, but they also feel softer. If you feel the bushing, I think it feels like a urethane bushing. I could be wrong about that in the Bilstein shock, but it's definitely a softer rubber in the Rancho shock. The Bilstein is a tiny bit longer. Compressed height is pretty close, so it's not going to be an issue. We still have all the travel, and actually a little bit more travel with the Bilstein. And the front shocks, as you can see, I still have sitting here, so I haven't compared them. These are extremely easy to change. So as you can see on the driver's side, I already have it installed. There is a nut and bolt at the bottom, and at the top here, it is just a through bolt with a welded nut on the top. So you literally just take that bolt out. Like I said, this side you do need a wrench, but you remove both bolts, the shock literally comes right out. Put the new shock in, tighten everything back up. You might need a jack to get everything lined up, and keep the axle will droop a little bit when you remove the shock, but really not much at all. And just like that, we have the rear shocks buttoned up, changed out. Honestly, you could probably, if you knew what you were doing and had the right tools, you could slip under this with a creeper. Yes, I have it on the hoist, but it's just to kind of show you a little bit better, and I have one, so I'm going to use it. But you could slip under with a creeper and have these changed out literally in 5 minutes. It's super easy. Anyone could do this, so no big deal. And before anyone even says anything, yes, I know if that was leaking, I could take it back to the dealer and get it replaced, but they're going to replace it under warranty with another Rancho, and I want an upgrade. So again, these aren't real expensive. I think tax, shipping, everything, these are right around 400 bucks for the all four of them, so about 100 bucks a piece, and I consider that a pretty reasonable price for what you're getting. And here's the part numbers I did use. So these are actually the front shocks, so the 24-253161, and on the rear shock it's actually 24-196468. I've run Bilstein shocks for years on lifted trucks. Obviously this truck is not lifted. Again, I don't really plan on lifting the truck, so that's why I'm putting stock size shocks back on it now, but we'll see. The front really isn't that much more difficult. At the bottom, as you can see, you have one through bolt. I believe it is a nut and bolt at the bottom. At the top, it is a cross pin with 2 studs, and you have 2 nuts at the top that hold that in. So we'll get a look at the truck here, and you can see that shock there. There is a cross bolt, like I said, at the bottom it is nut and bolt, and at the top here, let me get around this tire. As you can see right here, get you in there. We can get right to the nut and pull the studs down through with the shock. So very easy to do. A little bit more difficult than the back shock just because it is 2 more fasteners, but very simple. You can reach right through. If you have a ratcheting wrench that fits that, you can ratchet them right off. And on the driver's side, you do have a harness in the way. But still, it's the harness pushes right out of the way, and you can get right to the nuts there and the studs. So once I get the front shock off, we'll compare that again by compressing and seeing the rebound. It's not like I said, it's not like these Ranchos have 100,000 miles or even 50,000. They have 9,000 miles on them. So I think it's going to be a pretty decent. There should be a noticeable change by changing these as far as ride quality. Not that the truck rode bad, but I don't like to see like slight signs of the shock leaking already. So we're just going to go ahead, throw these on because why not? And as you see, we got the bottom bolts loose already, but you can reach right through the wheel well and back these nuts off the studs, and the shock is actually loose. We don't even have a jack under it, so that's full droop. So we'll go ahead and get this last fastener off, get a wrench out of the way, and then we can just go back underneath and slip, hopefully, that bolt right out. Yep, and the shock literally fell right out. Pull it right out there. So let's compare this to the new. So there is the shock side by side, and our overall length is just about identical. So we'll push this Rancho shock down. Go ahead and push this Rancho shock down. They're not blown out for sure. And I do believe they're gas charged because it is coming back up, but again, extremely slow. So we're going to set that right there and grab the Bilstein, however you want to say it. And we're going to push this down a little bit more effort again, but without all the way down, it's still going to beat. That's all the way up, and the Rancho is still slowly coming up. Like I said, that's not very scientific, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, here's the Bilstein picking up a little bit more steam there. Crossbars look very, very similar as that comes up and rests to its stopping spot. The shock construction is a little bit different, but same basic style. Cross pin, 2 studs sticking out, and a saddle down here. The Rancho actually has it welded on the side, where the Bilstein has it welded to the bottom, but I don't think that should affect performance at all. The bushing up here actually looks about the same. Down here, obviously no bushing in the shock. So that bushing is actually in the front A-arm of the truck. So that's not getting changed. So that won't affect. If this bushing's a little stiffer, it will stiffen things up a tiny bit. But let's go ahead and slip this shock in. They do, Bilstein also comes with a washer per side and 2 nylock nuts. And with the new shock slid into place, we just dropped our washers and started the nylock nuts up top. Holds the shock in place. We'll go down underneath and we'll go ahead and line up our shock here. slips right on. We'll grab our bolt that we took out, and once we line that up, lines right up. I'm using one hand, so it slips right through. We'll take the nut that we removed off that, put it on the other side. You do want to put the truck back down and have, if you're jacking it up to do this, you want this at ride height before you tighten this nut up, because that is a rubber bushing, and as you can see, the A-arm is slanted down. When it goes up, it will rotate that bushing, so definitely have that at ride height before you finally snug that up. In case you're wondering, because I was, the factory nut here is much more beefy. It's got the built-in washer than the one they supply with the Bilsteins, but it is a different thread.